afternoon, whenever you're listening to this, welcome to the internet's most sophisticated wrestling podcast, discussing the weekly aspects of it all, right here on
The Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast.
Well, here we are, once again, another week of wrestling. Here as usual, Mr. Christopher, I'm Big Baby Jimmy, and we got a Steven this week with us. How you doing, Steven?
Just say I'm glad I'm here.
Glad he's here. Did you
I'm
listen?
glad you're here.
Did you listen to the podcast from this past week?
Parts of it. I haven't had a chance to finish it. It's been horribly busy last couple weeks.
Well, if you get to the end of that podcast, I read your text message that you sent from last week verbatim, the whole thing.
Good.
I enjoyed doing that quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, he did. With some excellent points in there.
So, as usual, hey, welcome everybody to the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast. There's a lot of wrestling that's getting ready to happen this weekend. Lots to talk about. So let's jump right in. And before we get to, we're going to talk about, a lot of these wrestlers. So I kind of want to skip over, talking maybe too much about specific wrestlers that we're already going to talk about when we get to their matches. So there's a few things I had jotted down this week. And one of them is that KO promo that he did on SmackDown, which was pretty spectacular, I thought. It was kind of pipe bomb-ish, dare I say.
Yeah, he went off, and it was awesome. And my message in the text was just he's just gold, and he was given, I think, the freedom to finally be the KO that he was on the independent scene for so long, where he just rolled. And it was all very real, and you could tell it wasn't. Obviously it's a promo, but very real, like a very real concern of not only probably the fans, but I bet a couple of wrestlers too that Shane is kind of getting screen time that other wrestlers deserve. It was just interesting that he was definitely being a face. With Shane being the heel, and then he named a lot of face wrestlers as well. So it's going to be a different KO going forward, where he can kind of be a little more himself, but still get a little bit of that face pop.
I think him being himself too is very much that thing that's so hard to capture, where you're a face and a heel simultaneously, and you can kind of float in between, and nobody really gets on you for it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Becky kind of has been playing with that a little bit, but hasn't really accomplished it. I think KO could pull it off a lot better. It was interesting that KO got airtime this week, and we haven't seen Sammy in a week. So it was they kind of split them up, and I think that just proof that KO is going to go one direction and Sammy's probably going to go another.
Do we chalk that up to maybe creative on each show and how the shows are kind of diverging a little bit?
I think so.
As far as splitting the rosters up, or just splitting the storylines up?
Well, in certain situations. I mean, obviously, they didn't say anything about wild cards, did they? I'm so glad that I've stopped hearing about that a little bit.
It was about a week without wild cards, wasn't it?
Oh, thank goodness. I mean, I'm so sick of hearing that terminology. It's better just to have, multiple wrestlers on multiple shows and just don't talk about it. That's good for me at home, so I don't have to pull my hair out, because you're already killing me with these flippin' commercial breaks where you're adjusting matches based on commercial breaks. I'm like, oh my gosh, once you see it once, you can never unsee it.
I don't have an issue with it as much as you do. Like, it doesn't bother me all that much. I mean, it's no different than what they've done in the past, except it's instead of a headlock, it's just guys apparently standing around, which you're not seeing either way. So I don't know. It doesn't bother me. It gives you a different dynamic of a pinfall that you normally wouldn't get, or a restart of a match that you normally don't get.
Well, but what if the match doesn't make sense? And the one match I couldn't stand was your opening match on Raw, which was a mixed tag match, elimination match, which was weird because it's like, okay, so if Becky taps Selena out, then she effectively eliminates herself. I don't know.
It was a double elimination, yeah. That match was to work on something that I think they're teasing towards the pay-per-view, which we'll talk about later. But that was one of the times where, yeah, it's a little bit far-fetched how they were doing it. And I don't think they've been bad otherwise, though. I mean, 2 out of 3 falls matches are pretty clear when the match starts. And the restart to the AJ Styles match with Ricochet a week ago wasn't bad. So they're doing it different ways, which is fine. They're going to run out of ways to do it, though.
They've done 2 out of 3s like the last 4 weeks, man. They do it all the time.
I wanted it back. I wanted like the 3 stages of hell back, but they're overkilling it.
And it's, oh my gosh, it's like, okay, it just seems so obvious the 2 out of 3s falls matches, and it like you said, it used to be something they used to pull out of their hat every now and then. So it was kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool. You make a really good match, like so. And here's me kind of counter arguing myself a little bit to say that if you gave 2 out of 3 falls to like an AJ Ricochet match, then that's better, and that's kind of what they did. They did a playoff of that with Ricochet versus Carl Anderson, and Luke Gallows. It was kind of the same, it wasn't officially a 2 out of 3s fall match, but they kind of made it into one.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. That makes sense. It builds the storyline. It definitely gets the club more heat. So it worked. I mean, I think it's working in some instances. I think it'll get old, but I don't think it's gotten old as quickly for me as it has for you.
Everything gets old quickly for me, though.
Well,
it's true.
I'm the negative Nancy of this podcasting group.
You are Nancy.
That is, you're a good not friend. Just
accurate. Still not your friend. Yeah.
well, you guys tell me what did you? Is there anything that stuck out on Raw or SmackDown that you guys really enjoyed this week?
You know what was interesting that I really wasn't expecting? I feel like Shinsuke's got something with this like heel Shinsuke Nakamura character that he finally, I think, is getting into now that he had a little bit of a break. He's gone away, and I don't know. I dig it. I mean, he tried to go the heel against AJ, and it was interesting for a little while, but I think it got old with all the nut shots that he was giving AJ. This is different. This is like a fierce Shinsuke where he's just trying to beat the crap out of somebody with his finisher and do a lot of headshots. And Finn was a great opponent for him, so I dug it. Shinsuke was entertaining in NXT, and I don't think he's one of those guys who really didn't find it quite yet on the main roster. And hopefully, this is a rebirth for him.
It's hard to find it when you don't get any airtime, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
He was gone.
He was getting Rusev airtime. Him and Rusev, which made no sense.
How long ago was that? How long ago was that?
Granted, yeah, this is what I mean. He went away for a while and made us all kind of go, okay, we haven't seen him in a while. Let's see what it is now. Yeah, it's always fun for a return, right?
Yeah, I know. I name dropped him probably a month ago on the podcast. Like, hey, where is Shinsuke? They've got him as a mid carder. He can be used. He's a good tool in the arsenal. I like it. The Shin versus the Finn. That's how they need to start. That's how they need to start. Put it up on a billboard and lights. No, nothing really. Just booze. Shame on you two. You guys are no fun. You know that?
No, we're just better than you.
Better at me than what?
Talking about wrestling, so let's keep doing that.
Oh wow.
So
Okay. Well, keep talking about wrestling. Then
Where
I'll
was-
just sit here quietly.
where was the Miz? Where was the Miz? What was his deal this week?
I don't know that the Miz needs to be on TV though, does he? I mean, not all the time. Again, it's like that argument of like if somebody's not on TV for a week, or good.
Well, I
Absence
think
makes the heart fonder.
That's what I mean. I'm kind of making the argument for the point that you've been making on the podcast these last few weeks is you don't need to have guys on every show on every week. You can kind of layer them in and they can get a week off and not be on TV and we could still continue a storyline. So I think it's actually starting to trend that way because, they listen to the podcast. So once again, it seems like, they're going in the right direction.
How about you, Steven? You had anything that happened this week that really did it for you?
I'm enjoying the fact that they are changing the pace of things. It's not the same. It is the same, but it's not the same. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many ways you can reinvent
The product
the wheel.
seems like
I
it's
suppose.
getting better. I don't know if it's the whole Heyman Bischoff change that's coming into effect, but it just getting better than they had been.
Well, it was a
came
big.
out strong, right? They came out strong 2 weeks ago.
They did,
on
yeah.
Raw, and they had a really good Raw, and they had a decent SmackDown. I think they kind of went back a step this week, but that's okay. I don't need every single Raw and SmackDown to be amazing.
Right, and it wasn't as bad as it had been up until the last couple weeks. It was still a solid show.
You know what's we got the Cesaro thing that we talked about last week, but I'm still not sure about it. But I thought they did a pretty good job with the reveal for Cesaro versus Aleister Black. That was interesting on SmackDown as well.
I'm excited for that match. I really hope they just let them beat the hell out of each other. I don't care if that goes to a no contest.
That's actually probably the perfect ending. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the advice that they needed to take from AEW when we talked about them having that time limit in that Darby Allin match against Cody Rhodes, and how that time limit was the factor that made them both look strong.
True.
So in a no contest or a double countout, like double countouts can be good as long as they've beaten the hell out of each other and it's believable that they're just not moving. Like this match is over because they've just taken everything they can out of each other. And you can turn it into a really good program. Now, would I have preferred some of the different picks that we talked about last week? A few of them, I think just like, Gallows and Anderson, where it looked like they were on their way out and they kind of reined them back in. You could do the same thing with Luke Harper, but it doesn't seem like you're wanting to. So I don't know. I mean, like, why waste the talent? Like you said, Miz wasn't on television, right? So don't have guys like that on television and, show a little love to some of these other wrestlers that you have because they can be really strong if they're on every other week.
I thought Buddy Murphy, and I didn't say it on the podcast last week, but I did say it in the text chain. Buddy Murphy would have been a good pick for Aleister Black's first opponent. Being who's going to pick a fight with Aleister Black, and Buddy Murphy being the best kept secret. That would have been a good promo to pull.
I was slowly expecting it to be Buddy Murphy, the one
Yeah.
knocking on the door. I was really expecting it until
That'd been good.
it wasn't.
I'm not upset with Cesaro. Like I said last week, I think Cesaro's great. I love Cesaro. He's one of my favorite wrestlers.
The attitude
period.
they're letting him have right now.
Yeah, it's different for him. He's always kind of struggled to get a really good character, and Graves.
Other than the bar, they haven't really given him any longevity
No.
to a character to build into it.
Well, when he was tagging with when he was in the tag team match for a while, he had kind of
Kidd?
with Tyson Kidd.
And then
thank
Tyson
you.
got hurt.
Yeah, that was going pretty good, but the other big thing I think is they're starting to give him like layers with the commentary and crew, like the idea that they're actually calling him the Swiss Cyborg now is interesting, and the Swiss Superman. They're giving him a couple, like they're trying out new things. It sounds like to try to give him a push, and really get new entrants and everything. They're putting a lot more behind him this time. I feel like.
How about like the Swiss Raider or the Swiss Viking or the Swiss Machine?
Swiss Experience.
Yeah, Swiss Experience. I like it.
Oh God.
You know, it was a travesty this week. Was this random, hey, Rey Mysterio's back, and he catches the beating of his life from Bobby Lashley. I was a little confused about this.
Yeah.
That match was just over, and then it was just like, okay, well, all right. So we have Rey Mysterio just jobbing out.
But
You got to keep Bobby looking strong before he goes up against Strowman.
and again, like that, maybe that's just Ray's position right now. Like Ray could still have great matches, but ultimately he's the little guy to make the big guys look strong, right? Who was the guy that got thrown like a lawn dart into a truck trailer back in the day? Rey Mysterio. He's always good for a good spot where it makes the other guy look amazing, and Bobby Lashley needs that. He needs something right now because he obviously has no mic skills. All he is a pretty decently big guy, and he's able to have that like old school wrestling feel to him. But if you don't make him a monster, what's the point of him being a wrestler?
He can move. Like, he's very athletic. Like, you're right. He doesn't have the mic skills. He doesn't have that persona where he can just talk.
I don't like his finisher either. I mean, he's another spear guy, right? And they try to make his finisher look like better because he does like a spear, but like a corkscrew or something after he hits it. I don't know. It's just a weird finish to it. He's got like a choke slam kind of rock bottom looking thing that's I think would be more interesting than what his spear is.
Oh yes, the topic of finishers though, that always goes to interesting places. By the way, did you know Bailey to belly still the worst finisher in wrestling?
Superman punch.
No.
The atomic drop.
I'll say this about Braun Strowman, Bobby Lashley. Well, one thing first, a critique when you talk about finishers. Hey, you know that running like the running bomb that Strowman does or whatever? That used to be a Lashley move. Lashley used to do that.
British Bulldog.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody co-ops moves from somebody else, but I'm saying like this in this case, I find that extra weird though, because it's like that used to be like a while back, before Strowman was really that big, more like Lashley's thing, and then he left, and here comes Strowman getting all big and mighty, and he starts doing it, and I don't know, man, a little bit weird. However, I will say because of that crazy Falls Count Anywhere match that ended with lots of pyro going off, I can't say that I'm not at least interested for this match. I mean, I'm interested to see what they do with it, especially since, okay, they've kind of taken the veil off and kind of hinted at the fact that they might be a little less PG now moving forward. So what does that mean in regards to your first pay-per-view and your first pay-per-view of all things being Extreme Rules?
In Philadelphia.
I
think a lot of the match stipulations could change or be intensified as the night goes on. They need to be, at least.
Maybe though. I mean, you look at the I look at the match card, and what are they gonna do? I mean, like, what match are they gonna make really crazy?
Well, but how do you outdo what you did with Lashley and Strowman now? I mean, it was a great Raw, right? And it was a great spot, but how do you outdo that? You're going to have an Extreme Rules match with them, but what's bigger than what you've already done? Other than like, I don't know. No, it's I'm sorry, it's the Last Man Standing.
Yeah.
Other than like maybe, I don't know, what was was it Mankind and The Rock where they put the forklift down to hold him down? Like, they got to think of something creative like that, I feel, because if they don't put some interesting ending to it, it's going to fall short.
Yeah, but as you say that, I cringe because I'm like, oh, great. We're going to see like we're gonna see some backstage promo spot where it's the end of the match, and Strowman lifts up a vehicle and then puts it on Bobby Lashley because he loves to lift stuff.
But he can't pick up Samoa Joe.
But he can't pick up Samoa Joe. Yeah, exactly. So like that's one of, for me, a personal, like I say it in my head and go, ugh, because yeah, he, we haven't reached our monthly quota of having Braun Strowman lift something really big up and look really, really strong.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. I know the guy, my brother-in-law, who actually helps Braun Strowman lift things and make himself look strong. It's called hydraulics.
There you go. So how about, and this is the, that Roman Reigns match that we had where he has a mystery partner, and it's supposed to be the janitor, and then all of a sudden it's Cedric Alexander.
Like, I mean, I'm happy for Cedric Alexander to get some TV time, but the minute they said he was going to have a mask on, I'm like, okay, who's it going to be? And honestly, I went to Kofi first. Like, I thought it was going to be Kofi, but I don't get where they're going with Cedric Alexander. Who's he going to feud with?
Well, the biggest problem was the finish of the match, though, where he just gets annihilated by Drew McIntyre, like the Claymore or whatever, because he looks like he's untouchable, and then all of a sudden he's very touchable. Like he just gets destroyed, and it's like, oh, okay, like, so what was the purpose of the build-up just to have him be squashed? Like, why not make him look strong?
Like I said, there's got to be I don't know. They got to be thinking of some storyline with him, but he's not going to go up against McIntyre. McIntyre is pretty much slated to have this feud with Reigns for a while, or possibly Taker. You would assume Shane is still going to possibly go after the world title on SmackDown, unless they're changing their plans now. So we're not going to have Shane and Cedric Alexander. So there's nobody else. Elias? I mean, I guess you could do Elias and Cedric Alexander. That'd be kind of interesting. I mean, they're both talented wrestlers, but other than him being Shane's lackey, I don't know. I think it was just an interesting spot, and it might be that might be all it was. It might be just people like going against Shane McMahon and kind of falling on the side of Roman Reigns.
Get him over.
I don't know if it's possible to get Cedric Alexander over using any of these tactics. I would agree with you. I was happy to see his face. I was like, hey, Cedric Alexander, this is really cool. But at the same time, it's like, well, but we could have made it a little bit more exciting than that. But at the same time, I do complain a little bit about the amount of, and I'd really like to see the stats on this, because I might just be totally flipping wrong. But I just feel like faces are winning way too much nowadays, like all the time. Like, I get it's house show, mentality of like booking a match sometimes, but that doesn't help story out necessarily all that much. Like, I want to see these, like, the champs lose sometimes. It's like this thing where it's like, well, Seth and Becky, they can't lose in the ring, but then they'll get the crap beat out of them at the top of the ramp. Like, no, let them lose. Be it from a distraction or something like that. Like, just let them lose every now and then.
I don't know. That was a pretty stiff shot that Becky took from Lacey Evans.
Oh, it was good. It was good. I'm not arguing that. It's just like,
that slow-mo was great.
It's just one of my slight pet peeves with wrestling in general. Sometimes is they get so focused on people not being able to lose. If anything, you should have them lose every now and then when their titles aren't up, because it makes them seem like they're vulnerable, and it makes the match look like it's going to be more competitive. Okay.
Well, Finn Balor lost to Shinsuke Nakamura this week.
Oh, yeah. No, it was great.
So I think they're doing it in some cases. I think you make a valid point, but I think they're actually doing it. So
And it was good to see. It was actually
I don't
good to
think Becky
see.
loses.
It was good. It wasn't this week, but last week it was good to see Samoa Joe beat Kofi Kingston. That was important. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah, building, right?
They build Samoa Joe to be like, okay, this is truly the first time Kofi's faced anybody that he really needs to worry about.
Can we finally get Samoa Joe like a true push?
I think this is going to be it. I think it's about time. I love Kofi as champion, but I think it's about time to take it off of it, and I think it's
Extreme Rules, though?
Why not? You just said it. I think you got to lose, right? Like what does it matter if it's Extreme Rules, if it's SmackDown, if it's Raw? It should be able to happen at any moment. That's what would make WWE interesting. The fact that you could lose at any time. Remember back in the day when Diesel actually won the world championship at a house show? Like, do something like that. Do something super interesting so that it just shocks everybody, so that you never know when these guys are going to win or lose.
I watch too much
make
wrestling.
Interesting.
You know why I watch too much wrestling? Because
Why?
if Samoa Joe beats Kofi Kingston at Extreme Rules, it's because they want Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe at SummerSlam.
I think Samoa Joe wins, and as he's celebrating, Brock comes out, cashes in, and you get Brock and Joe at SummerSlam.
I actually, you know what? That was a match I actually really enjoyed back when Brock was doing his run. That Samoa Joe Brock match was an underrated one.
Great
for
ball
sure.
fire.
And for how much crap we were giving back then too to the whole like Great Balls of Fire. I mean, yeah, the name's still stupid, by the way, WWE, but
Still stupid.
yeah, but that being said, we had written that pay-per-view off. We were like, all these Brock matches, they're all the same. They all kind of suck. And then we were pleasantly surprised. I remember.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all, and I think that's a credit to Samoa Joe. I mean, he's a very underrated wrestler. He's amazing
100%.
on the mic. He needs a push, and maybe with the right people backing him right now, he might get that push.
Well, honestly, I think one of the best pushes that he could get is going against Roman Reigns, but beating Roman Reigns badly.
Yeah, and I mean, he did the promos with AJ Styles, who was a big face at the time, and Joe can definitely hold his own against these guys, whether it be on the mic or in the ring. So I'm fine with Joe and Reigns. I'm actually fine with just about anybody in Reigns right now, because Reigns is doing the good guy thing right now, where he doesn't need a belt. He's fine just being on the card, having his little feud with McIntyre and Shane and Elias, and I don't know, it's entertaining, and it's nice to see that he doesn't need the belt to be one of the top guys.
Yeah. Which you need more of. You need more guys you could throw in there that doesn't have to have a belt. A show that people are going to want to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're getting that. I mean, you got some guys who are definitely willing. Like, look at Ziggler. I mean, Ziggler hasn't had a belt other than a tag belt and that little stint that he gave up the U.S. title, was it? And the kind of a back and forth with Seth. So he hasn't had a world title in a while, but he's still main event SmackDown sometimes. He still puts on a really great match. He's always a great worker with any of the wrestlers he's with. He kind of comes and goes, but he's never afraid to take a pinfall. That's the only thing that I think we could kind of criticize some of these wrestlers out there that are always wrestling. How many guys are willing to take a pinfall? Roman Reigns is willing to take a pinfall. He's taken a few. I mean, they had Shane pin him. So it's good to see that these guys don't need a belt, don't need to be always the winner, especially when they're like as talented as they are, that they could probably be the world champion and carry the show.
Yeah, I think Reigns is doing just fine right now. I like the way that they're using him perfectly fine. Only reason I say it is because there's always that voice in the back of my head that's like, remember that Reigns is their boy. So it's bound to
Is it
happen.
Vince's voice?
Yeah, it's
Vince McMahon's voice.
It's just the WWE's voice, really. I mean, I think
It's
all
it's
of
funny how the
management
crowd
probably
has already
likes
turned
them.
on him. Well, the
Yeah, I
crowd's
don't-
already turned on him again, right?
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessary that they turn on him. Again, I don't know that they've been given a good reason to turn on him, other than it's just fun for them to turn on him.
Yeah, it's the Cena rule. You know, oh, you tell us we have to like this guy. No, we're gonna boo him now.
Fun fact: I'm looking at T-shirts, thinking about the Baron Corbin T-shirt I'm going to eventually buy for Chuck.
Love Baron Corbin.
You know, one of our favorite topics here is these T-shirts that are like these one-off T-shirts that they like make and see how many they can sell. So they've got an Undertaker and Roman Reigns shirt called "We Run This Yard" on the front, and on the back it says "Graveyard Dogs." And I want to kill myself now.
Seriously?
Seriously.
That's abusive. Future tag team champions.
Well, we got the next one. You have a Seth Rollins shirt. It says "The Man's Man."
Yeah, my Beth actually told me about that one because she was reading in an article that apparently there's been a lot of backlash about that T-shirt.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's saying Becky Lynch's man? That's a little weird.
I don't know. People like to complain about things. Whatever we've talked about this today, recently. People just like to complain. I feel like no matter what you tell them or show them, they'll complain. I mean, we complained about the first Bray Wyatt shirts, right? And,
Yeah, they
we've
need
liked
to.
them. We've liked them much better ever since they started to kind of put some more thought into them.
So you're saying we need the woman's woman shirt, or the trans shirt? That'll even everything out.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's gonna work. I think you're talking about that AEW match that's on the pre-show this weekend.
Wow.
I love it. I can't wait to see MJF get the mic. By the way, he's gonna be the first one out, and he's just gonna talk trash to the crowd.
Yes, it should
And
be
and
excellent.
for what that is like, because it's like benefiting like gun violence or whatever. Oh God, who knows what he'll say on the mic? You know, just to get booed. Could get ugly.
Whatever he wants.
That pretty much, and I agree. It's like,
Really?
dude, you can do no wrong on the mic so far, so just go with whatever you want to do. So am I the only one who's just like become totally indifferent? Not really hating, but I'm just totally indifferent at this point to this Bailey, Nikki, Alexa stuff still. I mean, every week it's just getting worse and worse and worse, where I'm just like, before I didn't care, now I really don't care. Like it's become like the pee break segment of the wrestling show.
It's like they're using it to build Nikki up and to try to have a reason to pull Sasha in. They come back in. They're already advertising her on all the SummerSlam stuff.
But it seems like we can't see the finish line. It feels like they're dragging it out, like they're not sure. They go one direction with it, and kind of you think it's gonna come to the climax, and then all of a sudden they take a turn with it, and like Nikki takes a pin. And like they're building her up, and then she took that pin, and then they bring Carmella back out, and they have her pin Carmella again. It's like, what? I don't know. They seem to be going in circles a bit, and not having Alexa on TV is obviously hurting them because, she's obviously the best one on the mic in the women's division right now.
Yeah, but they have to do some form of build up. I mean, you have to build, because right now Nikki Cross comes across as like this kind of face that hasn't gotten truly mad with Bailey yet, and so it's like you put enough tension in there and bring out the anger in Nikki Cross so that she interferes, so that Sasha can come back and interfere, and then Sasha can then immediately turn on Bailey and yada yada yada, so on and so forth.
But I don't see Cross as a face. I mean, the way they've been pushing her the last couple of weeks, she's definitely a heel. She's always been, a bit of a psychopath, but she's kind of like an obsessive, heel with the Bailey interactions, and even like I said with Carmella, because Carmella's a face. So putting her over Carmella is still pushing that heel Nikki.
But I don't think Carmella's coming across as a face though when they fight. I think Carmella comes off a little more heelish. I don't agree. I don't see that at all. I definitely just think that
break Carmella. Dance break Carmella with R-Truth riding his back around.
No, I get that.
Is not a face.
But I'm saying, when they're having their matches, that's not the persona that she's doing. Not really.
Well, that would make even less sense because you can't play one persona outside the ring and another inside the ring. That's conflicting and confusing.
I'm saying that's what she's doing.
No, she's not.
The Hurricane did that for a long time.
The Hurricane can do anything he wants to because he's the man.
This is
What's
true.
up with that?
It's like
I don't.
Chris's most exciting moment ever being at the Rumble and the Hurricane came out. He was jumping up and down like a little child.
And yeah, I was because I love wrestling, and that was like amazing for me. I was a little kid again watching the Hurricane come out, and I'd do it again if he came out.
When the Hurricane was wrestling, you were already in your mid-20s. Don't do that.
Oh, shut up.
You're old.
Yeah, I got that.
Yep, something.
She's not looking like a heel in the ring. She's always been cocky and or confident. Let me put it that way. I don't know that she's coming off as a heel while she's wrestling. I think she's still a face.
Well, then I can use, but to me, it's like then you have three characters that all are kind of doing the same thing. I watch Nikki Cross, I watch Bailey, then I'll use Carmella's example, Carmella, and they all are kind of coming off as the same thing where they're not really heel and they're not really face, and it just depends on the day, and sometimes they're all kind of over the board.
And that's why I don't think it's working. It's because they're just kind of playing this muddling middle thing where it's
stalls, right?
Nobody's it's a stall tactic. I don't know. I question if it's all because of Sasha, like you guys are talking
100%
about.
It's all because of Sasha.
But
Absolutely.
is Sasha dragging this out? Like, is Sasha dragging this out, or has this been the plan, the whole time to hold Sasha out this long, or is she dragging this out?
I think she drug it out until they were in a point where when she was ready to come back, they said, well, you have to wait until we're ready for you to be in there. So I think it was her.
She is training
her wait and sit through this shit.
Yeah.
For pop up.
Well, boys, we have a lot of pay-per-view wrestling to talk about. And
free per view.
Free per view. Well, one's free per view. The other one's we definitely pay for. But before we jump into the two major ones, I don't want to talk about Evolve too much because I'll be honest, I don't know that much about it, unless you guys know. I mean, you guys can talk about Evolve all day if you guys know anything about it. I don't know that much about it.
I don't know much about Evolve. I want to see what your guys' take on the whole WWE promoting Evolve is. I have mine. I'm just interested to hear what you guys think.
Yeah. Let's just jump into that. My thought is, I'm not really digging. I'm not really digging them putting that Evolve show on. Like put it on early. I don't know. Play it early in the day on Sunday or something like that. I understand that they're getting competitive with AEW and they're trying to compete and keep viewers, but when you're doing when your competitor's doing a wrestling show where like the proceeds are going to victims of gun violence and then you are actively trying to take viewers away from that, I can't say I'm a huge fan of that. It's a little bit sleazy.
I don't know. yes, that aspect is sleazy of it, but I don't know if that's the whole mindset behind it. I think they're trying to play off, oh, well, we don't pay enough attention to AEW to know they had something going on this weekend.
Oh, that's bollocks.
Well, of course it is, but I think that's the angle they were trying to go for. And maybe they want to try to get some of these little indie promotions like this and have like an invasion angle with NXT and just try to grow that industry, because Triple H is doing most of the promoting for it from what I've seen.
I'm fine with that. I think that's a great idea, by the way. That being said, this unnecessary to that greater goal.
It is.
I think Steven's on the right track of where I'm coming from. Is Triple H has always been a big promoter of independent wrestling and other wrestling. He's fine with every other wrestling. He's always going to push WWE, obviously, and to give Evolve the viewership that they're going to get being on the WWE network. These guys that probably have just wrestled in front of a couple hundred people are going to be wrestling in front of the millions of people watching the network. I think that's huge. And all of a sudden that could create characters and create potential for some of these wrestlers. That's how we got a lot of the roster that we're talking about today. The Aleister Blacks, the Cedric Alexanders, these guys were, in Evolve, these on the cruiserweight tournament. Nobody knew about them, but they got some time, they got some viewers, we learned about them, we watched them in the ring, we loved them. So I have no issue with them putting Evolve on the network. I see your angle, Jimmy, about the idea of it going up against a fundraiser, which is a little bit like, you probably could have planned this better, but it's a business, and WWE's got to do, whatever it takes to be the best wrestling business out there. And I think this is only promoting them as the best place to wrestle, even more so, because now it's like, look at, they're even taking care of the little guy, even while, promoting themselves.
It's slightly laughable. It's just slightly laughable. But that being said, we've talked about how competition is good for WWE. So if competition leads to them making a lot of changes that make their promotion actually a better place to wrestle for, then good. That's great.
What would you say if WWE had a pay-per-view and AEW planned to do their pay-per-view? So WWE announces that they have a pay-per-view in a month from now on a Sunday, and AEW decides to go on that same exact Sunday. Is that sleazy, or is that competition?
From competition standpoint, what is the pay-per-view? If it's the same, if you're giving me the reverse situation, it's just as sleazy. That's what I think. Okay. And I also don't think, and I also
the fundraiser part.
Yeah.
If you take the fundraiser part out, you have no issue with it.
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care at all. It's like, good. I like it. Competition, that's great. But that aspect of it kind of hurts it. I also don't think that AEW would do that, because AEW is still kind of the small fry. They're trying to be productive for themselves. Now, they do take shots to get themselves maybe a little bit of notoriety, but I don't think that they're going to... I think it's silly to try to compete head-to-head with WWE because of what the past would teach you about what happened, And that's not to say that AEW couldn't do it, but there's just too much of a risk there. Like, why? Why are you going to do that when you know that there's a good portion of that WWE fan base that's probably going to want to watch, AEW?
So what are they taking away from AEW by airing the Evolve Saturday night?
Well, for me, it depends.
Is it like is it a fundraiser or something, like, or is it just like just them making people more aware of the fundraiser?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think it would depend on if they promote the ability to donate or something like that, for the people that are watching, then that's something that taking viewership away would take away from them. Now, if it's just a case where, okay, all the people that buy tickets, all those proceeds are going, and that's all they were worried about, then maybe they're not taking anything away. because my viewership online through BR Live is not going to change anything.
Right. And the amount of people at the Evolve event live are really the only ones that are committed to going and seeing that Evolve event. Everybody else can watch it on the network after the AEW event's over.
Maybe.
So, I mean,
maybe.
What do you mean maybe?
Well, I don't know.
Replay it?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's the one tricky thing, right? Like, what if they try to be tricky with that and try to be like, oh, this is your only time to watch this. This is a big show, and we're not going to replay it. I don't think that that's the smart thing to do, or nor do I think it's the thing that's going to be done. But I have just been sitting here assuming that, oh, well, I'm going to watch the Fight for the Fallen, and then I'll watch Evolve like the next morning, and then I'll watch Extreme Rules that night. But what if they didn't replay it? What if it was a one-time go?
That'd be
such
sleazy.
a negative Nancy.
I'm not trying to be negative, Nancy. I don't even think that that's what's going to happen. Because I
don't think they've ever done that. I think they've literally never done that.
And I don't think that they will, because that you're still going to listen. If you do sleazy shit like that, you'll lose me eventually. I mean, you're not losing me anytime soon, but like, there's definitely people out there that are probably would be on the precipice about it though. Like, oh, that's crap, and I prefer AEW anyway, so I'm done with WWE. I mean, obviously, people have jumped off the WWE train a little bit because, you can get tickets for pretty cheap to Extreme Rules.
Real cheap. Buy one, get one.
I hate to wish slight misfortune on WWE, but I'm really banking on that buy one, get one free for Clash of Champions.
I think it's a pretty safe bet at this point. Because they did it for the Stomping Ground. They are doing it for Extreme Rules.
But it's after SummerSlam, right? It's after SummerSlam.
Clash of Champions?
What if SummerSlam is like earth-shattering or something like that?
Why would that make Clash of Champions more interesting to go to?
I don't know. If good story equals good wrestling equals good show, I don't know. I mean, what
show that night, not the good show next month.
Yeah, well, but you don't know that. Okay, what if Extreme Rules ends up being really good or something like that, and then they keep making progress on their Raws and SmackDowns, and they keep making progress. Like, they've got enough time to, plant the bug in a bunch of people so that they want to go see some wrestling live.
I'm willing to take that gamble.
Oh, no. Oh, I am too. We both are. Let's clarify. I'm the guy on the show who will argue everything. It doesn't mean I believe it. But if we sat here and we're like, yes, no, I agree. Yes, no, I agree. Like, how boring would that be?
Yeah, when you're right, right, James?
Okay, so Evolve. I can't speak to many Evolve matches, but there are two matches that are WWE matches in the Evolve show. The first one, I guess the first one's probably Matt Riddle versus Drew Gulak, but it is a non-title match. It is just a match between the two of them.
Which we've seen on NXT, I believe, a few months back.
It should be excellent. Drew Gulak's excellent. Yeah. Matt Riddle's excellent. I think that match is going to be great. I look forward to watching it the next day.
So, all right, where is Evolve? Because now I'm curious, because they're in Philly on Sunday, and Gulak is taking on Nice on Sunday. So where are they wrestling Saturday night that Gulak's going to be there in Philly on Sunday?
I'll look it up right now.
I thought it was Florida, but I could be wrong.
Because I'm about to have a lot more respect for Gulak if he's wrestling Saturday night and jumping on a plane or jumping in a car and getting there in time for what you would assume is the pre-show for his match on Sunday.
Oh, let's see here. It's in the event will emanate from South Philadelphia's famous 2300 Arena, the former home of Extreme Championship Wrestling. Oh my God, that's so exciting that's so exciting to me that they're actually going to wrestle there.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Florida is where Fight for the
is.
Fallen is. Yeah, in Jacksonville, where the tacos are. But
Yep, the fish tacos. Yes. Shout out to fish
Yes.
tacos. Shout out to
shout
them.
out.
Sponsor
Shout out
us.
Fish Tacos.
Send us fish tacos. Thank you.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. Yes. What's the catch food truck? Please.
Don't talk too much about food. We'll go off on a tangent. We'll talk about food for the last hour.
Possibly. Probably.
So, Matt Riddle, Drew Gulak. I think that sounds great. I have even more love for it now that I know that they're fighting in that arena. That's great.
I got to go with Gulak on that one just because Riddle won the first matchup with them, and that way they can kind of have a rubber match at some point.
I would concur with that. I mean, crap, we have so many matches to go through. We might as well just pick as we go. Okay, Steven.
Yeah.
Matt Riddle, Drew Gulak. Who do you pick?
Honestly, I think it'll be Gulak. He's kind of on a high right now after winning the belt.
Well, I would say that the PowerPoints have it because I also believe that Gulak will also win that match. The other WWE match that we have coming out of Evolve is Adam Cole versus Akira Tozawa for the NXT Championship.
Wow. Like, imagine if they were to pull something off where Tozawa actually won the match, but you got to go with Cole with this.
I don't see.
It's the year of Adam Cole right now, or the rest of the year is Adam Cole.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that's another one we're all going to be agreeing with because the problem with a show like Evolve is it suffers from like even worse than a tweener pay-per-view syndrome. It's like, no, this is just a house show where they're throwing a couple WWE matches into. No title is going to change. Now, will they have an excellent match? I'm sure they will. Adam Cole's great. Tozawa is pretty darn good as well. He's not as great as Adam Cole, but
man, imagine if they actually let Tozawa win the title and somehow just flip it or something like the next Wednesday. I don't know. That'd be pretty interesting if they pull some kind of big surprise. I don't see it, but you never know.
Do you think Undisputed Era is going to be there?
I mean, yeah, sure. They got nothing else going on unless they're showing up at Extreme Rules.
Which is,
next door, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So why not, right?
Everybody will probably be in town, so wouldn't be surprised if other guys from NXT kind of show up at Evolve.
So I'll give you guys the choice. Do you want to talk and pick WWE first or AEW first?
AEW comes first. We might as well do AEW.
Yeah.
Let's do AEW because it's Saturday.
All right, so AEW got we talked about this a little bit last week and over the last couple weeks, the interesting card that they've got going where kind of the same thing where it's like this is kind of feels like a house show because the card isn't like super spectacular. It's got some potential. But at the same time, some of these matches you can easily go, well, how are they going to pull that off? But so we'll start with the buy-in. And the buy-in, we have a 6-man tag team match where it's Joey Janela pairing up with Jimmy Havoc and Darby Allin versus Shawn Spears, MJF, and Sammy Guevara. And I know, Chris, that you always have a lot to say about this match because of the booking and that fact that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Makes no sense. No sense. Yeah, just putting Spears and MJF on the same team, it's a recipe for chaos. It's a recipe for a broken match. I don't even know if this one will get started. I don't know what kind of twist or turn they could put into it. It'd be more interesting if you could just take this match and turn it into a six-way match, but I think you have to protect Spears right now because obviously he's the next Cody's next opponent. So maybe getting him out of the match and maybe getting MJF out of the match and letting the rest of the guys have a fatal four-way, some kind of hardcore fatal four-way. All those guys are crazy. So it'd be very interesting to see them all go at it. So as we talked about it previously, I think this is going to be a Spears and MJF implode, take themselves out of the match, and the rest of them are left to kind of finish it on their own.
Okay, and if that's the case, and we'll do like weird bold predictions for this match, because I agree that it looks so weird on paper that there's got to be something up. And if it's the only match in the buy-in and you're trying to sell the whole, like watching the rest of it off of one match, then there's got to be some shenanigans going on. So let's say that your shenanigans play out. Who then wins that 4-way match? So who is the victor? And even better, we could say who gets the pin. And if you get the pin right, you get the point.
It's the pin.
I don't know. I'd have to go with after this performance at his last pay-per-view, I'd have to go with Darby Allin. I think he's starting to win the crowd over, and it'd be a good spot for him to get a push.
I think you let him get pinned, so you can help build him up. Like an underdog.
Well, yeah, but after you just had him like go 20 minutes without getting pinned and get like brutalized during a whole match.
Well, have Spears, annihilate everybody. Something happens, like Cody has to come out and take out Spears, and then as the match goes on, he's just beat up already.
Okay, so if you have Darby Allin getting pinned, then who pins him?
Havoc.
Jimmy Havoc. I dig Jimmy Havoc. He's a cool character. I liked when MJF calls him like a 60-year-old emo or whatever. I've got to go kind of traditionalist on this. I think that, and I think I made this argument a little bit last week. I look at these teams, right? Joey Janela, Jimmy Havoc, Darby Allin, and the one thing that they all have in common is they're kind of loners. So I think they've set it up to implode on both sides. Sammy Guevara is kind of like the one guy that doesn't really make sense, but it doesn't matter because if everybody else turns on each other, he'll just kind of join the fray. He's just like a body. That being said, I think it's important if you're really going to push this Cody Spears line to make Spears look really strong. So without any, I'm going to say no interference from Cody. Cody will appear, but it'll be at the end of the match. I think that Shawn Spears is going to end up pinning Sammy Guevara, and then Cody will come out and they'll face off, and there will be another tussle out there between like the lot of people because you've got these really weird divisions within AEW. We're still trying to figure them out, but yeah, I think it should be an interesting match, especially if they break it. If it remains a 3v3, it's going to be a little bit weird, and I'm not going to be able to buy into it very well.
It's just going to be spot for spot at that point.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be spot for spot if it's a six person match too, but it'll maybe be a little bit more compelling from a story standpoint.
Yeah.
All right. So next match we have is Brandy Rhodes versus Allie, aka a bad women's match.
It's going to be bad. Like I feel like it's going to be really bad. I don't see Brandy Rhodes as a wrestler, and honestly, Allie was doing pretty well in TNA or Impact with Rosemary, but I don't see her standing that well on her own. Her playing the face here and Brandy Rhodes playing the bad guy. You probably got to give it to Brandy Rhodes here, and she'll probably be some sleazeball and win in the sleazeball way. So I'll go with Brandy Rhodes.
See, I think Allie takes her out.
I have a tendency to agree with Steven.
Brandy attacks her at the end. Mix it up.
Now, a question I would have is, does TNA own the rights to Rosemary?
No, but she did re-sign. So she's not going anywhere.
Yeah, well. Oh well. There's to dreaming. I think that Allie wins. I think you have this little bit of a problem within AEW where people are getting a little bit critical of like, hey, there's a bunch of people that like kind of own this wrestling promotion or run this wrestling promotion, and you can't have them win all the time. And I think this is a perfect example of just a match that helps set up the future, really. So I would say Allie definitely wins over Brandy Rhodes. So, our first, I guess we had to have a disagreement for the 6-man match, but this is the first one where Chris is wrong alone. And me and Steven are right. Next match, Hangman Page versus Kip Sabian.
Hangman Page all day.
Yeah, this could be the match of the night. Like Kip Sabian, he's really good, and Hangman Page is a really good character and pretty decent in the ring. So I think it makes sense for Page to win this just because he's getting the huge push right now coming up against Jericho at All Out. So other than some kind of interference and Page getting screwed out of the win, it wouldn't make sense. So we're going to go with Page.
I do think Jericho comes out after the match and attacks Page, but Page wins.
Well, they're giving him a live mic apparently, so we'll see.
You know what? I'm going to just feed right off of what you just said, Steven, and I'm going to say that Jericho interferes with that match and causes Hangman Page to lose. I think that that's the better way of running it because I think it makes the match a little bit more compelling. Because it doesn't make Hangman Page look weak to lose if he gets interfered with. But I also agree that it very well could be the match of the night. They're both excellent wrestlers. SoCal Uncensored versus the Lucha Brothers.
I love the Lucha Brothers.
Me too.
I love them, but I honestly didn't love the last match they had. I mean, I've seen them have better matches, but I think they'll be able to do some interesting stuff with SoCal Uncensored. Kazarian is awesome. I've always loved him. So this should be another really good match. And the Lucha Brothers seem to be putting everybody over. So I like to be interested to see who puts over who here.
I am contractually obligated to pick Pentagon whenever I can. So Pentagon and his brother Phoenix win. The Lucha Brothers all day.
I'll go against you and go SoCal.
Steven? I'm assuming. Yeah. I was assuming so. Next match we have is Kenny Omega versus CIMA.
It'll be Omega. And this is probably the spot where Moxley comes out and they have another interaction. Somebody's got to hit somebody.
He attacked Moxley last time, so this is Moxley's time for payback.
We're doing it twice.
Context, though. Not Kenny losing, not Kenny winning. I think he comes out there and match and just lays both guys out and just goes to work on Kenny.
I think that is a very, very good way of doing it. Make both wrestlers look strong before Moxley interferes. I think that's the best way to do it. Maybe from a story perspective, I have to keep reminding myself that it's slightly house showish. So how important is the story to the continuation to the next pay-per-view? It probably is, though.
Them being still relatively new, every chance to keep their stories going is a good chance.
And I think that it's important also to have CIMA look really strong through almost most of the match, and then it's not till Kenny feels like he's starting to come back that it gets interfered. But never make Kenny look way too strong because you don't need it. We know that Kenny Omega is a strong wrestler, but make CIMA look really good. That's important. That being said, I would say that if they operate the same way, I guess I would say it's CIMA is the winner via disqualification. Or no, it would be Kenny. Kenny would be the winner via disqualification. Yes, that is correct. I always mix that up. God, You'd think I would figure this out by now.
Yeah, we
So
know
I'm
you're not
so I'm going with Kenny Omega.
Mm.
Last match of the night. The Young Bucks versus Cody and Dustin Rhodes. This is the match that I'm just really not... I don't even know what to think of this match. Dustin Rhodes, God bless him, and he put on a hell of a match against Cody Rhodes, but there was a lot of time put into the storytelling of that match that I don't know that is even going to be there when you put him against the Young Bucks.
Well, so follow me on this. So Cody got hit with a chair by Spears. So we're supposed to kind of buy into Spears being the bad guy and Cody being the good guy a little bit, right?
Yes.
And Young Bucks have pretty much been I don't know if they're heels, but they're the heels when they fight the Lucha Brothers. So now you have the Young Bucks kind of going a little more heelish with Cody and Dustin being a little more face in this match. It would make sense to kind of build off of that, where you kind of let Cody go full face and Dustin turn on him, which is the opposite of where they were before the last pay-per-view. So maybe Young Bucks win, Dustin gets frustrated, beats up on Cody, and Cody gets more face push from the crowd, which leads to his next feud with Spears, and Spears can actually play the heel, which he's doing a pretty good job after that chair shot. So I think Cody's got the crowd behind him as a face, and I think this could be an interesting way of pushing him even further in that direction. So I'm gonna pick Young Bucks here winning, and like I said, Dustin turns on Cody.
I like how you're doing it. I do think the Young Bucks win. I do think Dustin turns on Cody, but I think it's in the middle of the match he turns on Cody. Sure, and lets the Young Bucks finish it, pin him, and just stares at him.
Kind of walks away from him.
Yeah. Because Cody told him, "I don't need a partner, I need a brother. I don't need a brother," or whatever. Let him feel into that a little bit more.
I'm digging that. That's kind of cool. That's kind of a cool way of looking at the story. But to keep it spiced up, I'm also going to go with the Young Bucks, However, I believe that Shawn Spears will find a way to enter into this match and be aligned with the Young Bucks, and they'll all three be full heel by the end of the match. But I will have the Young Bucks winning, and then Shawn Spears comes out and attacks Cody and Dustin with the Young Bucks. Because I actually kind of believe that maybe what we saw when Shawn Spears hits Cody, and then you have all those people in the ring with him, they could be going for something that I've wanted WWE to do again for so long, which is to do like almost a full half of the roster faction thing, where you're either on one side or the other. And
I don't know, man. That's like WCW NWO days when it got really confusing and convoluted and kind of terrible, where you had like the black and white NWO versus the red and black and white.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking more like corporate ministry type stuff.
Corporate ministry feud. Yeah, they just took over the show.
Yes.
Like there was nobody else who even had airtime at that point.
Yeah. I would like something like that. I think that would be enjoyable. Now, you're really just creating the base for it because you're not really doing anything until you have a television show. So it's really just build to the show, and then unleash the beast once the TV show starts. But that's kind of what I'm feeling. So I will also pick the Young Bucks. That's Fight for the Fallen. That's all of it.
There's some more layered in there. I think they're gonna
maybe in
add
the buy-in.
a triple threat. Well, they're adding a triple threat tag match with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus and Angelico and his partner. What's his name? I forgot his name. And then the dark, whatever the heck the dark people are that have been showing up, like the lights are going out and they're coming out.
Oh,
So I think
yeah.
they added a triple threat. So it'll be interesting to kind of, they're introducing some more tag teams, which is good. They need to build that. And then I think they're also announced some of the women's wrestlers will be in a match. Britt Baker is supposed to be there. And then some of the other ones we haven't seen yet, and maybe some of these Japanese wrestlers as well. So there's some other stuff I think they haven't announced officially yet, or if they have, they just did. So those will be interesting too. We can't really pick them because I did a terrible job explaining who's in the match.
Well, if Jungle Boy's in a match, I'm definitely picking him. I got mad respect after that last match he was in. But yeah, I mean, without us knowing, without it being on an official card, it's kind of hard to pick it. So now we move to Sunday, fun day, Extreme Rules, and we'll start out with the Cruiserweight Championship match between Drew Gulak and Tony Nese.
Gulak.
Hometown boy Gulak.
It's gotta be Gulak. Eagles, Eagles. Let's go, Philly. All right. Raw Tag Team Championship match between the Revival and the Usos.
You know I love the Usos.
But
you know
they
I
need
love
to
the
lose.
Revival
Yeah.
more. I love the Revival more. Revival, definitely.
I just see the Usos doing it. It's been a while since they've been tag champs. I think they do it.
You know, before we started recording and before you got on, Steven, I was talking to Chris about picking with your head or picking with your heart and how we will occasionally, we do both. Like, so every now and then your heart just has to win the pick. And while my brain wants to say the Usos, my heart is screaming the Revival because it's important for them to hold those tag championships for a little while. Them holding it with the characters that they're building make it a better story for the tag team division.
Yes. Come to the dark side.
Yes,
Jimmy.
I'm here. I'm killing little Jedi in a room apparently.
Yeah, your heart's gonna fail you both in this situation.
Yeah.
The Usos walk out with the gold.
Well, we'll see. We'll see, won't we? That's a lot of bold talk there, boss.
That bold talk.
Boss Hill.
What's your picks? I got some more bold ones for you.
Aleister Black versus Cesaro.
Can I pick no contest?
Yes, you can pick no contest, but you don't get any points if somebody wins. Obviously.
I'm picking no contest. I don't want either one of them to win. I don't think it makes sense for either one of them to win. I think you can build these guys so strong with start out with a no contest, and then you could go out a best out of 7 with these two, and really put some great storylines, some great matches together. But I want it to start out with no contest to be the first one.
Extent, I think it'll end in a double count out. They're going to be up on the ramp. Cesaro's going to hit him with an uppercut, and as Black's spinning down, he hits him with Black Mass, and they're both unconscious on the ramp.
God, that sounds way too right. That sounds 100%. That is the finish of that flipping match. Golly day, because these, you know what, people, these picks that we make on this podcast, we mirror them in the text chat, and so this is one of those times where I'm like, I can maybe get a point here, so I'm just going to go for the point. Aleister Black wins. They feed Cesaro to the wolves. I don't think it's a great pick, and I think that their pick is way better for storyline. Again, for storyline, and I usually always pick storyline, but I'm gonna be sleazy like WWE on Saturday, and I'm gonna go for points, and I'm gonna pick Aleister Black. Next match, the U.S. Championship match between Ricochet and AJ Styles?
I mean, Ricochet beating all the odds makes sense from a storyline perspective, but man, the club is so much better when they're bragging about how great they are and how many wins they have, and it would make sense to let AJ win this one and the club look strong. It's too early to immediately have the club kind of fail AJ. If that was going to be the case, then what was the point of putting them back together in the first place?
Truth.
So I think AJ actually takes the title.
Okay. I'm going to throw another pick into this in the middle of it. I think AJ wins the belt, and then Finn loses later on in the night. And there's a backstage segment where the club's celebrating with AJ. AJ and Finn get into it, and then you set up that feud over the club and over the U.S. title between AJ and Finn.
Ah, that's so fast.
It's fast, but it'd be great for SummerSlam.
Does Finn even have a match? I didn't see him on the card when I was looking through it.
Isn't he against Shinsuke for the IC belt?
Is he? I didn't see it on the card.
No,
I don't think it is.
They might do. It might be a last minute addition to the card after Shinsuke just beat him, but I don't know that he is right now.
I can double check it really quick, but I don't think so.
I mean, WWE has pulled that before, where they added something to the card last minute. But
why not save?
Why not save that? Why not save that for coming weeks?
Yeah, SummerSlam. Because that would be something for a lot of people to get excited about at SummerSlam. I will. So you're saying AJ wins then?
Oh yeah, AJ wins.
I hate that I keep agreeing with you guys. Now I'm not agreeing. Like I believe it works in two different ways. I 100% agree with you, Chris, that having the club win something and being able to brag is important. I also believe that this is one of the few pairings that you have in WWE right now where you can flip-flop this title a bunch and it's going to be good no matter what. So I don't think that it's like something that, AJ should have a monopoly on, like he gets the title and then he does one of his crazy runs again. I think you should have this title flip back between him and Ricochet a couple times. And that it could be compelling because you definitely, you're trying to build this Ricochet defeating the odds. Well, he hasn't hit rock bottom yet, so you got to have him lose what he has to be the comeback kid. So AJ Styles, I think, definitely wins. SmackDown Tag Team Championship triple threat match between the Planet's champions, although they haven't really been pushing that anymore, have they?
A little bit, but not as much, no.
That's too bad. I was really hoping they would win those titles and turn them into those like cool looking Earther belts or whatever. It was really, really, really awesome. So Daniel Bryan and Rowan versus the New Day versus Heavy Machinery.
Are they gonna really give this to Heavy Machinery? Like, is that the direction we're going? I feel like they're thinking about it, but I want to stick with Daniel Bryan and Rowan because they're great heels on SmackDown. They need that. I could see them also going with the New Day, but again, I'm gonna stay with the heels, and the heels find a way to hold on to the titles.
The New Day. They haven't had the belts in a while. The New Day pick it up.
I agree. I'm looking in the future, and I think the New Day provides a very interesting opportunity in that you could technically set up a storyline with either the New Day and the club, or where you have the tag belts and the championship belt on Kofi into SummerSlam and they retain, and then Undisputed Era comes up to challenge the New Day. I like that idea from a story perspective, so I will also choose the New Day. Next match.
I'm on
Well,
my
what?
own.
Oh,
I'm on my own. Oh,
you're
sorry.
you're on your own.
I'm on my own again.
We can make it together. SmackDown Women's Championship match: Bayley versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Pee break. I really gotta pee. What's okay? They're fighting. Go ahead, take your pee break.
I think Bailey wins. I think Nikki goes to pin her. Her and Alexa get into it a little bit. Bailey knocks both of them down, like knocks one into the other, rolls one up, and then as she's celebrating, they just start pounding on her, beating her, kicking her to the dirt for the save. Once she runs them off, she hits the bank statement on Bailey. End of the match.
I don't know. That's a lot.
It's a lot. It is a lot.
It's a lot.
But just think of all the lot they did going into the women's title match for WrestleMania.
I know. It's just at this point I'm even leaning towards the ridiculousness of co-world champions to be the first ever women's co-world champions.
Oh, shut your whore mouth.
Just because they love doing firsts, they're like, winner takes all at WrestleMania. The first ever winner takes all. Man, I'm leaning towards it, but it's probably just going to be Bayley. And there could be something that leads into Sasha coming back at some point, or Alexa and Nikki having a feud. But I think this is just going to be Bayley winning, and maybe a tease here or there with maybe Sasha, but maybe she doesn't come yet. So I'm just going to go with Bayley. But I hate that pick.
So it's important to note that at the last pay-per-view, I thought it was the last pay-per-view before SummerSlam. So my bold prediction was that Bayley would be in a bad spot, would be about to lose, and like Steven said, get the save from Sasha, who then Bayley wins, and then Sasha turns on her. So that was my pick from last pay-per-view, and it has to be my same pick. I don't care that the bold prediction is the same because, I thought the last one was the pay-per-view before SummerSlam. So that was always my thought process going into SummerSlam. Oh, yes, that's how they're going to roll it. That's how they bring Sasha Banks back. It makes a whole lot of sense. So I think that's got to be it. That's got to be the way you do it. So yeah, Bayley technically, because Bayley Sasha Banks has got to be the SummerSlam match.
Strowman Lashley.
Last man stand. No, I agree. Believe me, hey, I agree. That women's match is so unexciting. I'll be excited about Bayley Sasha Banks, but I don't know.
The next match is Chris's match of the night, though.
Last man standing: Braun Strowman versus Bobby Lashley. You have a Bobby Lashley shirt, don't you? You love him.
I do. I'll wear it. Yeah, I'll wear it Sunday for you. As I sit at home on my couch.
I'll wear a Randy Orton shirt for no Randy Orton match.
Okay, that's good. I don't know how they're gonna outdo it without something kitschy, like you said, in the back. And they obviously are at the point now where Lashley was the one that's okay, and Braun now has to overcome like a punctured spleen or something. Whatever.
Dislocated pelvis is what I heard.
Dislocated pelvis. So they're doing one of two things. They're making Strowman look hurt to make it unbelievable that he still is able to pull off the victory, or they're making Strowman look hurt so he's not 100% to make it more realistic that Lashley beats Strowman. So I have to ask myself, what makes more sense for the storyline going forward? And it's probably going to be make Strowman look strong, and Strowman's going to win.
Any predictions on how he wins?
I don't know. They bring in the Titanic and lay it on top of Bobby Lashley, and he can't get up.
No,
How's that
Strowman lifts up the Titanic.
He lifts up the Titanic
I
and
love
places
it.
it
I love
on
it.
Bobby Lashley.
That is 100% what's going to happen. Steven?
I also think it's Strowman. I think Bobby's going to be setting him up to try to put him through whatever the hell they call it, the entrance ramp, just like Strowman did him. But Strowman's going to counter him and pick him up and slam him through the top of the ramp. And then Strowman's going to crawl out of the top of it for the win.
Question, because I know you filled me in on this the other week when I mentioned his name. How long is Lars Sullivan out for?
They said it was significant. I don't have an exact timeline, but they were.
But no time
concerned that
soon.
It was going to be soon. Yeah, no time soon.
Okay, well, that theory goes out the door. That'd be like Twist-O-Matic 3000.
Or Bray shows up and takes Bobby Lashley out.
Braun Strowman versus Bobby Lashley, so they got me a little bit excited for this match with some of the work they had done, but only just a little bit, because quite honestly, when I go to pick a winner, I just cringe when I look at either name. I'm like, ugh, can they both lose? And I guess they can, right? So maybe this is the one, since I didn't call the no contest on Aleister Black Cesaro, I'm gonna call the no contest on this one. They both get counted out, and neither of them can move. Just like the little setup on Raw, where both of them had to be stretchered out. They both do the same thing to each other, and they got to be stretchered out again. I don't know that you have all the pyro, but it'll be a no contest.
Oh no, their pyro is spent up until next year WrestleMania. They've
Truth.
spent their pyro, but
Yeah.
Until WrestleMania for Roman's entrance.
So you were incorrect, Steven, because the next match is Chris's match of the night. Undertaker and Roman Reigns versus Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre.
Superman punches and tombstones galore.
Well, question, is Undertaker's walk down to the ring last longer than the match lasts?
It's going to be pretty close, probably. Yeah, that walk to the ring is painfully slow, and I can't see any other finish than Taker and Roman Reigns winning. I mean, they could lead into another match easily, whatever's going to happen coming out of this, but there's no other angle other than Reigns and Taker winning the match.
This is where I'm having a storyline head versus heart issue. And for the love of the storyline, let's have Shane get knocked out. Let's have McIntyre throw Reigns out. And then Undertaker's the legal man. He Claymore kicks Undertaker and pins him and actually wins for Shane and Drew McIntyre. So I'm going to pick Shane and Drew McIntyre because I think that is a way to super put over McIntyre, or at least they think it's a good super way to put over McIntyre. I'm kind of bored with that way of putting over people. Like, oh my God, he beat The Undertaker, because it's only happened a couple times or whatever recently. But I think that from a storyline perspective, that is the correct thing to do. And I'll just go with it. I think it's a stupid pick on my part, but I'm going to go with it anyway.
I agree. I could see that being a good match. I still think Taker Roman win, but that could be a good outcome. I can see that.
WWE Championship match between Kofi Kingston and Samoa Joe.
Match of the night?
Probably, unless you want to put the cruiserweight match in there.
And
I
think Joe wins, and then Lesnar cashes in.
I think Kofi actually wins. I want Joe to win. My heart wants Joe to win, but I think Kofi wins again. They continue to build Kofi up. I'm not quite sure what they're building him up for yet. I still like the idea that we've all kind of thrown around is the Brock Lesnar cash in on Kofi. But I think Kofi's going to continue to win, and I'm not predicting any kind of cash in.
I don't think I would predict a cash in at Extreme Rules per se. I don't know. See, I created a few storylines in my head, and one of those being that, you have the New Day all have titles, which I think is a good idea. So I don't think I can pick Joe because of that. But is there a reason why Joe loses the match? Do you have Lesnar attempt the cash in and then have the New Day attack him or something like that? And then that finishes the match from like an interference standpoint. It's not.
Haven't you done that with Braun Strowman in the Shield already?
Well, yeah, but okay. How many times do we have to go back and say it's WWE? They love to recycle stories. Yeah. I don't know. I'll just say Kofi Kingston straight up. I hate that for Samoa Joe, but if I'm incorrect, I'm going to be happy. I'll be super pumped if I get this one wrong, because Samoa Joe has proven time and time again that he needs himself a run. He doesn't even need a push. He's pushing himself. He's that good on the mic. So I think that Kofi wins it because I see this vision of all of them having belts and that being a thing. But, I hope Joe wins. I'll pick Kofi, but I hope Joe wins.
Agreed.
Winner takes all mixed tag team match for the WWE Universal and Women's Raw Championships. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch versus Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans.
This is the easiest one to pick of the night because it's most obviously going to be Baron Corbin with the end of days and the pin on one Becky Lynch. The best possible storyline that they could put into this match is let Baron Corbin, the ultimate heel, pin your ultimate face in Becky Lynch, since it's winner take all and it's a mixed tag match and it's Extreme Rules.
Do you set that up? Do you set that up early by having Lacey Evans do a women's right to Seth Rollins like early on?
Oh yeah.
And then Baron like goes to pin him and he like barely kicks out, and it's like, okay, so that was the cross interference. Yeah, the lead in.
That's the lead in. And they started that lead in, I feel, on Monday with Andrade and Zelina Vega having the mixed tag match, and there being interaction between the men and the women. And then with Becky Lynch actually on the ramp punching Baron Corbin, and Baron Corbin kind of just laughing at her. I think they're teasing it, and it would be so good, and I would be so over on it if Baron Corbin pins Becky Lynch, and it's so perfect for him. He's the greatest heel they got right now without being really good on the mic. He's just a really annoying heel, and I think that'd be the best way to do it, and that's what I'm calling. That's my long shot. I'm taking it.
And like you said, long shot. I think she does hit the woman's right on Seth. I think that's the beginning of the match, that little setup going in. But sadly, I think it's a flip on your outcome, and I think Becky makes Baron tap out to the disarmor.
Yeah, it's possible.
I think he gets hit with a curb
more
stomp.
Probable.
He gets hit with a curb stomp, and then Becky gets tagged in, and she puts on the disarmor, and he taps in the middle of the ring as Lacey looks on.
Now, do they have a well-established rule that a man must pin a man and a woman must pin a woman in those matches?
It's not well established, no.
Is it an understood rule at all?
Typically.
So maybe
in a normal mixed tag match, it's only men versus men and women versus men. Whenever they say mixed tag, it's usually only men versus the men and only women versus the women. But this is Extreme Rules. They're saying it's an Extreme Rules match. So anything goes.
My thought's this. I think I agree with you, Chris. But I don't think it's something that lasts for more than a day. Because I think that happens. They win the belts, but then they come back and say, well, you needed to be in the ring with a man, and you needed to be in the ring with a woman. So the outcome does not count, therefore the belts do not move. Because I think of all the stupid stuff that WWE likes to do. And one of those things is, why would they ever take belts off of, their two biggest stars? And I hate to say that because I'm so fucking sick of both of them. And I would love Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans to win. More for Baron Corbin than Lacey Evans. But I think that whole either them getting another shot to win it back the very next night, and they do, or them saying it doesn't count because it didn't abide by the rules of what they say a mixed match would be, and they might be able to make but it's Extreme Rules, and get themselves another match, set up for another match at SummerSlam or something like that, where they each have, solo matches at SummerSlam.
What if we take this cash in that we keep talking about, and what if we cash in on Baron Corbin after Baron Corbin wins? What if that's an angle they take with Brock Lesnar? Because this is Extreme Rules. I mean, it's going to be a massacre, you would think, where there's going to be a lot of things going on in this match.
Well, let's kick it up one notch further. Why not have him go out there and cash in on both of them at the same time? Like, hey, this is a mixed match where, what if Brock Lesnar comes down before the match is even over and is like, I want to just join this match, and he just wins both titles?
That'd be hilarious.
Oh, it would never happen that way, just because that doesn't, I don't know that makes sense. It would be funny, but I don't think it would make sense. I don't like the cash-in. I just don't like the cash-in. I mean, I think that the cash-in is best saved for SummerSlam, and it preferably saved for the best shock experience for Kofi. Although, like I said, like, you very well, if you have that many belts on, like the New Day or something like that going into SummerSlam, you could do other things to make that, make that a compelling story, and just have his typical, he just does Seth Rollins later. That being said, I'll go with Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. I'm with you. I won't do the bold prediction like you did, so no extra points for me if that happens. But
I just really want that to happen.
Yeah,
I think entertaining.
I think it would be very entertaining. And the question is always, going into this first pay-per-view, you have taken off the veil a little bit of, like, we're not going to be so PG-ish, so you have to do something at the pay-per-view, or it's going to be a letdown. You got to go crazy a little bit. So how do you go crazy? And going crazy is not putting the Titanic on Bobby Lashley's chest.
Come on.
That's typical.
Okay. Maybe
So
not a Titanic.
Yeah. So, I don't know. So what makes a...
How about the Liberty Bell? They'll be in Philadelphia. How about the Liberty Bell?
Oh my gosh.
Does that work better?
Oh my gosh. How about a giant cheesesteak?
How about just a regular sized cheesesteak?
How about a regular sized pork sandwich?
I take the pork sandwich.
All right. Well, that's it. That's all the picks. We've been talking for about an hour and a half. But before we leave, we'll, instead of doing for the what we want to see for the next episode of Raw or whatever, what of all the things we talk about, do you want to see the most from the pay-per-view that you didn't fully back? So I'll say you can't talk about Baron Corbin doing an end of days to Becky Lynch, but past that, what do you really want?
I'm going to go to AEW over the weekend, and I want to hear Chris Jericho just spit fire on the mic with his live mic that he's getting. I don't know what he's going to say. I'm interested what the promo is going to be. I would love to see Chris Jericho and MJF have a program. I don't know how we get there, but it's something I think AEW has to be thinking about because they're very similar in their mic skills and their characters. I kind of want to see them start that process this weekend, but I know it's going to be a long play to get it there. But I'm interested to see what Jericho does, and of course MJF as well. So if they drop little hints of each other in their promos this weekend, it would be interesting.
Steven?
I'm trying to think. I don't know.
Well, I can go with mine real quick.
Yeah.
In a simple answer, Bray Wyatt. In a more complex answer, I would say that I want to see Bray Wyatt interfere with a match. Now, we went over the whole card. To me, the match that's the best match to interfere with, if you were going to interfere with a match, would be Aleister Black and Cesaro. It doesn't necessarily have to be either of them that have a match at SummerSlam. You could have a triple threat with them. But I think that you want Bray Wyatt's character at SummerSlam having a match. So if this is the pay-per-view before SummerSlam, then there's no better time than the present to go ahead and introduce Bray Wyatt to the fold. It's time.
I'll give you that. That sounds good job keeping him off for the time being, and it's due time he's back. They're doing the little teasing. You're starting to see everything everywhere. I think it's time he comes back.
Have you seen every character at this point?
You think there's gonna?
So.
Are you asking like, are they gonna add more characters?
No, I'm saying like every character that's been on the Funhouse. Have you seen them all now?
I think so.
How many? There's 4 of them, right? Or 4 or 5 of them. Let's not count Vince. Let's not count Devil Vince, right? So you've seen Husker, right?
Yes.
You've seen
times.
Ramblin' Rabbit.
Multiple times.
Have you seen Mercy?
Multiple times.
And you've seen Abby the Witch?
One time.
One time. I think they've shown every character at this point. Let's go for it.
Except Vince.
Except Vince. But I don't know that I'm counting Vince because I don't know that that's the same type of a character. Is Devil Vince a part of Bray's personality?
No, but yes, it is his voice, isn't it? Which every one of them is specifically his voice. I don't know. I think you're right, though. I think we've seen all the characters. I think it's time.
All right, Steven, you got something for us? I almost said Charlotte Flair, by the way.
I want to see something from KO.
Sure.
And if he just talks shit, just give me something with KO. After SmackDown, I want to see KO do something.
He could probably interact with Shane at some point in the match. He could factor into that match easily.
Could, yeah.
Well, boys, I enjoyed it as usual. Steven, great to have you back this week. Christopher, you're not my friend. You never will be.
Good. Let's keep it that way.
Y'all are better lovers than friends anyway.
Wow. Well,
you wish, Steve.
If you made it all the way through this hour and 45-minute extravaganza, we appreciate it. Hit the like button if you like what you heard. Subscribe if you want to hear more. But put that thumbs down if you didn't like if there's something we said. Did you not like my trans joke? That was kind of funny.
Or if you just like Big Baby Jimmy in general, just go ahead and hit that thumbs down for us.
Yeah. He's a good
mostly his voice.
He's a good not friend. He's the best not friend I've ever had. Yeah, well, that's been our time. We thank you for listening. Make sure you guys watch some pay-per-views this week. Make sure you guys watch Fight for the Fallen. It's going to be on BR Live. It is free.
Yes, free.
As free advertisement for BR Live. It don't get any better than that. I'm plugging them all day long, but I'm all about watching wrestling just like these guys. And do yourself a favor. There's a lot of good wrestling is going to be on this weekend. Make sure you watch at least some of it. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a good one.
Later.